Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner.
We're talking about handling frustration. Peter, in his moment of frustration here, struck the high priest's servant's ear, Malchus's ear. He struck him out of his own frustration. Isn't it amazing that when we get frustrated, it oftentimes causes individuals to lash out and strike other folks out of their frustration? Peter was frustrated because this Judas was one of the disciples of Jesus Christ. You know, Jesus had 70 disciples. He had 12 apostles. Judas is one of the 12. He's in the inner circle. I believe that it frustrated Peter to no end to see somebody in the inner circle betraying somebody who was an innocent man, somebody who was a good man, somebody that had a right heart. He was frustrated. You get frustrated when good people are treated wrong for no reason. And he knew the places where they had been. Isn't it amazing how those folks that you trust, who betray you, they know your hangouts, they know your methodologies, they know all of your secrets, and then they bring your enemies to the place where you were privileged in confidence and in trust to come, and they breach your trust by bringing somebody into an intimate place where you trusted them to come. And Peter was also that impetuous disciple. He was a bit hot-tempered. I know you know some folks who are a bit quick-tempered. That's Peter. Peter's got a real fast temper, so Peter's a bit frustrated in that other disciples are around Jesus and nobody is doing anything. Sometimes when you are the responsible one, you get frustrated and wonder, there's some other folks, why y'all looking at me like I'm the only one here? And he gets mad. Isn't it amazing that in every family, there's always a responsible child? I don't care how many children, you can have a half a dozen children, a whole dozen of children, and responsibility will fall on one child. That one child on whom the responsibility falls gets frustrated that all the rest of y'all see mama and daddy here. And y'all looking at me, why haven't y'all act like they didn't have but one child they had? And you get frustrated. Can you understand what Peter is going through now? Because he's seeing people that have been with Jesus, that have been blessed by him, and that they supposedly love Jesus, and they see somebody coming to attack him, and nobody is doing anything. And Peter said, not on my watch. And Peter took his sword out of his sheath, and he didn't just threaten them with it. Peter cut the man's ear off. You don't play with Peter. He's impetuous, and Peter will cut you and apologize later. It is frustrating when a mother comes home and she sees stuff that needs to be done and children are sitting around looking at TV. And then they wonder, what's wrong with mama? Mama is tired. She got to cook. She done washed clothes. She done mopped the kitchen and swept this and folded, and hair has come apart. She got runs in her stockings, and mama is stressed out, and she sees dishes piled up, floors that need to be vacuumed, and children are sitting around watching TV, on the internet, texting on their telephone, and now they're wondering, mama, what's up with you? That you come in yelling at everybody? You must have had a bad day. No, mama didn't have a bad day. Mama is frustrated out of her wits because there is so much stuff to be done, and everybody who's capable is sitting around twiddling their thumbs, acting like there's nothing here to be done. Peter is upset, and that man better be glad that he ducked and only got an ear. But it is to say that when you strike out of your frustration, when you strike people out of your frustration, you cut off their hearing. When you lash out in frustration to people that you love, you end up cutting off their ability to hear you, because they are offended at the act that comes out of your frustration, and it cuts off their ability to hear you. So it is dangerous to walk around frustrated all of the time for too long. for too long, because your frustration can begin to sever the intimacy of your being able to hear the concerns and the needs that's in that person's life. So there's a danger there with being frustrated. I've said to you that frustration is a deep, chronic sense or state of emotional insecurity and dissatisfaction arising from unresolved problems or unfulfilled needs. Remember, part of that word frustrate comes from a Latin word that actually means to deceive. And in the midst of all frustration is some deception. Right in the midst of frustration, there is some deception. And so you have to realize that there's a deception that has us frustrated to make us think that everything that we're doing is in vain. I want to give you just a few reasons that we become frustrated. Number one, not having sufficient money to do what we feel like we need to do. That'll get you frustrated because you don't have enough money to go around. And at the end of your money, you still have a month left. And you get frustrated because you can't pay all of your bills. But listen, I say this and I teach this to my children. You never beg for that which you have the power to earn. Never beg for that which you have the power to earn. Make the most of where you are with what you got. Make the most of what you got. You don't have enough, but you got to use creativity. When you don't have all of the money that you need, you got to get awfully creative. Whenever you have a problem, you got to increase your creativity. Money broadens your options. If you don't have money and you need your options broadened, you've got to then stretch your creativity. Necessity is the mother of invention. When you don't have the money to buy new clothes, you know what slaves did? They made clothes out of burlap sacks, stuff that potatoes came in, and they made clothes out of them. It's amazing how they could pull together a meal from scraps because of their creativity. They didn't have all of the money that they felt like they needed, but their imagination caused them to be able to create stuff. And then another frustrating thing is the sense that you're running out of time to do what you want to do or to do what you need to do. You ever felt like your time was rushed? Isn't it amazing that whenever you're in a hurry, like people are just dragging? You'll be in a hurry in a store, and like the cashier's on the telephone and, you know, just dragging, and you just wonder, would you just please hurry up and so I can get out of here? Isn't it amazing that every time you're in a hurry that slow people get in front of you on the street? I mean, am I the only one? You see, whenever we have a sense that our time is running out, I don't care whether it's because you're advancing in years. I don't care whether you are reaching the 40 mark and you're not married yet and you want to have a baby. Your biological clock is ticking, and some of you then get like Respucia. But it's a sense that our time is running out. Here's another thing that really causes frustration, is operating in a job that you are not designed for. My God, I want to encourage you, learn to live your life by design and not by default. Live your life by choice and not by chance. You always have the power of choice. It's one of the greatest powers that you possess is the power of choice. It is the power of choice. But if you're operating in a job that you don't feel that you are designed for, you get frustrated because you've got these set of skills in here and it is not matching your current assignment, and you are frustrated because you hate doing this job that you are not designed for. So when you find people in professions and they don't want to be there, they are frustrated human beings and dangerous because they are frustrated. Number 4, you can have frustration not really liking where you are, but being too afraid to leave. Have you ever met somebody who curses the place where they are and yet they won't leave? I mean, you wonder that if things are so bad and so detestable to you, why don't you just leave? You ever notice some people just stay there in your life and create havoc? I mean, instead of lighting a candle, they choose to just stay there and be passive and curse the darkness. And part of the problem is that we are more in love with our security of a job that we can't stand instead of being passionately in love with the opportunity that lies before us. Your greatest regret and sadness will be over the risks that you were afraid to take. I want you to remember that fear is temporary. Say that with me. Fear is temporary, but regret is permanent. Fear is temporary, but regret is permanent. And so, when you get to the end of your life, you will not regret the things that you did. You will regret the things that you didn't have the courage to do during your time of life and energy and vitality. That's what brings regret into life, not over the things that you did. You'll have regret over what you were too afraid to do. And I want to let you know this, that right on the other side of fear is freedom. On the other side of fear is freedom. May I tell you another thing that frustrates us? It's when you watch somebody that you care about live beneath their potential. When you watch people and you know that they've got a greater ability in them and they live beneath their potential, that is a frustrating, irritating thing, because you're trying to make them better. And you know that they've got better in them, and yet they keep gravitating to stuff that is beneath them. They keep dating folks that's not even on their level. They keep going to jobs that's beneath what their potential is, and it frustrates mothers and fathers and husbands and wives who love each other, and they see the other one operating beneath their potential. And you know, it's interesting that the very thing that irritates a parent about their children amuses them about their grandchildren. It's interesting. Your child could be climbing over and doing something, and then when you're the parent, it's like, sit down and shut up. But if it's your grandbaby, oh, Big Mama, so happy. Pa, so, oh, isn't that cute? But when it was your child, you were nearly killing them. And see, children are still the same. But what changed? It was your perspective. They were your values. It was your mental attitude that changed. Here's another thing that frustrates us. Our circumstances which are beyond our control. When you have circumstances that are beyond your control, may I name a few? Like when you're in traffic, that's a circumstance that is behind your control, beyond your control, and you're just burning. Oh, you're just angry, just angry, just angry. It's a circumstance beyond your control. Waiting in line. You ever have to wait in line and get frustrated out of your wits? You're waiting in line, just like, would they hurry up? Have you all been like me in the phenomena of traffic, and then you get up to where the delay was, and there's really nothing, and you're like, where's the problem? And you just get to an area, and then it just opens up, and traffic is just flowing, and you wonder, what was the slowdown? I mean, why were we? And you're frustrated because of something that we don't even understand. If somebody puts you on hold on the telephone too long, frustration starts setting in. See, circumstances that are beyond your control. Oh, here's a big one that will frustrate you out of your wits, dealing with the government. Oh, does anybody here know what I'm talking about? You've had, where they don't have any competition. I wish that they had competition. I wish they'd let private enterprise come in so that they do it right, because you go and deal with some government workers. God bless you, government workers who are. But if you've ever had to deal with a government entity, the red tape, the bureaucracy, anybody know what I'm talking about? You're trying to get stuff done, and stuff where you ought to be able to go from A to Z in 0 to 4 seconds that will take you 4 years because of the legalities of this, that, and the other. And anybody understand how frustrating that can be when there are circumstances beyond your control? Here's another circumstance beyond your control. It's when you lose information or work that you have already done. That's why I did some stuff. I just written out this beautiful thing on my computer for the first time in my life. I lost it. I lost it. I couldn't retrieve it. I couldn't undo it. It was just gone out into the black hole of wherever. And I was frustrated for a moment, and then I had to handle my own frustration. I'm talking to you out of my own experience, because I heard the Holy Spirit say to me, it's not in vain that when you did it the first time, now you've got the knowledge in you, and it'll never take you as long to do it again as it took you to do it the first time. I have developed you. It wasn't about what you did, it was about what you became in the process of doing it. And I handled my own frustration, and I was able to redo it, and my redoing it was better than the first thing that I had done. And so here's another major one. Here's another major one. Here's another major one. Number 7 is not knowing your purpose. Not knowing your purpose. Listen, when you don't know your purpose, you spend a little time with something and then you get bored. You ever seen people that just can't stay committed to anything? They'll be with something for a few months and then they switch and they go from pillar to post. I want you to listen to this little excerpt from Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun. Beneath it said, love him, there's nothing left to love. And here's what the mama said. Baby, there's always something to love. If you ain't learned that yet, you ain't learned nothing. Have you cried for that boy today? I don't mean for yourself and for the family, because we done lost the money. I mean for him, what he been through and what it done to him. Child, when do you think it's time to love somebody the most? When they done good and made things easy for everybody? Well then, you ain't through learning, because that ain't the time at all. It's when he's at his lowest and can't believe in himself, because the world done whipped him so. When you start measuring somebody, measure him right, child. Measure him right. Make sure you done taken into account what hills and valleys he come through before he got to where he is. Every frustrated person, there's a story behind their pain, and they're hurting other people. Hurt people oftentimes hurt people. And to have a compassion on the person who's lashing out and hurting other folks, to say, what happened to this individual? When you are happy, you don't hurt other folks. And so it shows that there's something that's going wrong down on the inside. And I want to encourage you that whenever you are frustrated, or someone around you is frustrated, that is such a good time to pray the wonderful prayer of St. Francis of Assisi, who said, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace, so that where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, and it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. It means that we've got to be the bigger person when other people are frustrated around you. That's a great opportunity for the love of Jesus Christ to shine through your life in dealing with how you handle frustrated people, because they've got a story. There's a message behind whatever they're dealing with. You will be surprised at how much frustration can be stripped out of your life if the people who've offended you would only give a genuine apology. There are 3 components of a genuine apology. It says, number 1, I'm sorry. Number 2, a genuine apology says, I was wrong. God, that pains me to say that. I could barely get my mouth to say it. I apologized to my wife that I was wrong one time, and upon looking at it again, I was right. I withdrew the apology. It's a struggle in my own life, brothers. I do understand. I feel like I'm a member of the hair club myself. And the third and most important component of it, it brings the fruit of repentance. It says, it asks the question, how can I make it right? How can I make it right? How can I make it right? Now let me tell you, I married such a beautiful girl. She's beautiful and she's smart. When she would do things to frustrate me, guess what homegirl would do? She'd pull out a $50 bill, hand it to me. It shut me down just immediately. Sometimes she'd have a $20 bill, I'd be fussing, and my wife would hand me a $20 bill. It just shut me down. I'm like, who taught her that trick? You know what that act was doing? It was like asking the question, what can I do to make it right? It just shut me down. You'll be surprised. Listen, guys, ladies, you need to store up your a little till of emergency cash. And if offense comes, you frustrate somebody, you do something that's wrong, just pull it out and hand it to them. I'm telling you, it will end an argument just like that. I don't know how to explain it, but it just shut me down. It just shut me down. She just got to the point, you know what, she didn't have to give it to me anymore. It just shut me down. She shut me down. It was asking the question, what do I need to do in order to make this right? If I just make it right. It just discombobulated my thinking. You know, it's hard to be still mad and shooting off at the mouth of somebody putting money in your hand. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I bet if you send a check to your enemies, it'll change things. You'll be sending apology cards and everything. Listen, put a piece of money in there. You'll be surprised what it will fix. You will absolutely be surprised. I realize that you have no power to choose the hand that you're dealt in life, because everybody is dealing with something. But let me say this to you. You will never be dealt a hand that with God's help cannot be turned into a winning one. Helen Keller did it. They asked her what could be worse than to be deaf, blind, and mute. And she said to be born having sight but no vision. Helen Keller did it. Wilma Rudolph did it. Moses did it. Stevie Wonder did it. Abraham Lincoln did it. Nelson Mandela did it. You may not be able to change the hand that you were dealt, but I declare to you that with God's help, you can turn it into a winning one. Don't let your weight weigh you down. Don't let that be your issue. Succeed anyway. I know some big folks that's got money. I know some big folks that's happy, that's satisfied with their life. They're not trying to, they're starving themselves today. They are all right, and they are big as a house. And they are all right. And it's not their problem. And you talk about that weight, that's your problem. And as long as they can be healthy, they are all right. As long as they feel good, they are all right. So don't let your weight weigh you down. Don't let your looks be your handicap. I know that there's some that you would change about yourself. You wish that you were taller. You wish that you were thinner. You wish that your teeth were this way. You wish that your skin were like this. You wish you had this kind of hair. I know that you wish you could change some things. But listen, you got to work with what you got, baby. Just work with what you have. Develop your mind. If you're not satisfied with your looks, develop your mind. Listen, don't let your body be a hindrance. Develop your talent. You can be ugly as all get out, but if you can do something with your talent, run a football, a basketball, a baseball, play soccer, make an instrument, sing and dance, you will be surprised. Work with the hand that you got. Touch your neighbor, say work with it. Work with what you got. Work with what you have. You have got to work with whatever it is that you have. Because you see, in order to successfully deal with frustration, you got to first understand what causes it. Understand what causes it. Because the first step to bringing anything under control is to identify it and study it. You'll never be able to conquer and master something that you have not taken the time to study. You see, something that is brought into the light of understanding will lose much of its power. You got to ask yourself, why do I keep flying off the handle? If you take the time to study what it is you're doing and why, what are the triggers that's making this thing happen, the better you understand that thing, the more you begin to dismantle its power in your own life. Frustration is simply caused that whenever the results that you experience don't seem to match the efforts and the actions that you're applying. And so frustration will occur whenever your actions are producing less and fewer results than you think that they should. But this is a very simple fact, but it's an important step towards solving frustrating problems in your life. Because some folks are frustrated because they realize that they've got gold in their mouth or gold in their mind, but they can't figure out how to get it in their pocket or in their hand. You feel like I've got something and I know that this thing is going to work, but you don't know how to launch it. You don't know how to get it out there, and you're frustrated because every place that you have turned to try it, to find appreciation for it, and you haven't found it yet, and you're frustrated, and you're trying to figure out, God has given me something in my mind. He's given me gold in my mind. How do I take the gold that's in my mind and translate it into gold in my hand, into my pocket, into my bank account? And you're wondering, how do I make that transfer of that thing into my life? We get frustrated over whatever it is that we don't understand. And when you react in frustration, you usually cause the offense to create a bigger mess. So let me say this to you. Whenever you are frustrated, stop. Just stop. Stop. The S in stop means sit down. Sit down.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Until next time, God bless you.